Hello and welcome to another installment of Tea with B, the series where we chill and we chat and talk about the events of the week and anything that happens to be rolling around my noodle at the time. Usually while enjoying a cup of tea, however, this time we have a giant jug of water because I'm perpetually dehydrated. Seriously, like a couple hours ago, I went and I did a blood stick test, because I'm doing keto to check my levels. It was like squeezing out toothpaste from a tube. There's no reason that like the viscosity of someone's blood should be that thick. Not ideal. I don't know why it's a constant struggle for me to do like one of the basic necessities of survival, but somehow we keep finding ourselves on the precipice of shriveling up like Ringo. Anyway, before we get too far into the lukewarm gossip for the week, let's go ahead and get the weigh-in over with. So last week I weighed 223.4 pounds. This morning I stepped on the scale and I weighed 221 pounds exactly. That is a weekly loss of 2.4 pounds, which is way more than usual. And that brings the total amount of weight that I have lost so far to 36 pounds. And that is bananas. Did you spell it? I know you spelled it. If you're a millennial, you spelled it. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. No judgment, cause same. Now, I will admit that 2.4 pounds is a little bit suspicious. Because even though we returned from our road trip last week, I have very much still been in vacation mode. It has been very hard getting back into my normal routine. I still haven't unpacked my bag. And I mean that like in the figurative sense, like mentally I'm still on vacation, and also literally like she's still sitting out in front of the closet, just tripping me every time I enter the closet, largely untouched. Like, I mean, like I rifle through there every now and again to like get essentials, but she's just been abandoned, still ready to hit the road. The house has been getting more and more disheveled. Rapidly, we are approaching the point where we're gonna have like no clean laundry left. Mavis has been shedding a lot, and there are about like 14 tumbleweeds of her hair in the hallway right now that I have just not been bothered. Just walk through the hallway and it's like a Studio Ghibli movie, Little Dust Spirits. I don't know, I've never like fully watched a Studio Ghibli movie, don't judge me, but I know some of the lore, at least enough to make a reference to it. And I haven't seen the kitchen island since we got back from New Mexico. It's just completely covered in stuff. So yeah, I've just had like no motivation to do like really any kind of those shits. But you know what I have had the motivation to do? Listen to an audiobook, a romantic fantasy about a merman and this lady getting together. Really the only thing interesting about these characters is like one's a monster and one's a lady, and they're like, oh, you're a monster, that's unique. And then the monster's like, oh, you're a lady, that's unique. The characters are dry. Another pointless thing that I made time for was me and Steven had this like half-baked plan to become van lifers. We're like, it'd be cool to get like one of those van camper things and bring the dogs and Chetty and go off on little adventures. But instead of just like looking up some of the prices of these things online and quickly realizing like, oh my gosh, we can't afford this. This would be like taking on a second mortgage. We drove 45 minutes away to one of those RV dealerships and like toured everything and talking about it. And when I'm actually thinking about that, like even in like the most ideal made up scenario in my mind, it doesn't sound appealing. So like just unnecessary. And also as far as workouts go, I have not lifted any weights this week or the week prior. The week prior, it was understandable because, I'm traveling, didn't have access to equipment or whatever, but there was like a little bit of a miscommunication between me and my coach Grace, where, I told her that I was going to be traveling, but she took off the workouts for this week. And I noticed this, but because I'm a little stinker, I didn't say anything, so I gave myself a week off. Basically. But I haven't been doing completely nothing. I've been doing like more cardio focused activities, like going on a ton of walks. We went on another bike ride and a hike. I'm using air quotes because it wasn't a real hike. However, I did go out and buy some hiking shoes that were on discount from Sportsman's Warehouse, which I have been like breaking in all week to prepare for this hike. And I made a huge deal about like purchasing bear spray and making sure to pack it along with like some bug spray, sunscreen. Like I was prepared with all of the sprays, okay? However, the hike that we went to was Seven Falls, which is like this like nature trail-ish thing in Colorado Springs. But you go and you park in a parking lot, then you're shuttled to the beginning of the trail, which is like paved all the way up and very touristy, like a ton of people, but nary a bear in sight. So the bear spray was very overkill and also prohibited from even coming, because on the shuttle they're like, do you have any weapons on you? And in my head I was like, I don't got any knives. But then I thought about it later and I was like, the bear spray could have definitely been considered a weapon. So yeah, I think I broke a rule. And I didn't know the whole situation. I didn't know what we were up against. I don't research or plan. All I know is getting mauled by a bear is not how I want to go out. Okay, like, of the ways to die, being mauled and being still alive while something's eating you ass first, not a good way. But anyways, at Seven Falls, even though it is very touristy, it was still like a very strenuous workout. They had like 2 sets of stairs going straight up the side of the mountain. The first set of stairs could have been an elevator. I found that out the hard way. I thought this was like the main one to like climb the waterfall at this place. We went up, I was dying, and we look across and there's the second set of stairs, like the one I thought I was gonna have to climb up. So we climbed that first set for nothing. But when I managed to huff and puff and finally make my way up that second staircase, there is like a couple of trails around that you can do, and I was really not wanting to do them. I felt really sick, like I was going to throw up, which is another sign that I need to work on my cardio. That has been the theme of the past 2 weeks. Like, girl, you need to start working that heart. I was just kind of just trying not to throw up and didn't really want to venture out on the trails in like the actual wilderness. Like, we got to the part where it was unpaved, like amongst trees and such. And it was hilarious, like something out of the movie. Like, we came to this sign that tells you are here and these are the trails or whatever. And we were just deciding if we wanted to do it or not. And the universe or God or whoever was smiling down on me, because as Steven asked me, you want to do this trail? A crack of thunder, along with the sign a little bit closer that's like, be careful about lightning strikes. So we decided to descend. But as strenuous as it was climbing all of those stairs, it was 10 times worse coming down because it was absolutely terrifying. It had started raining at this point, so these metal stairs were wet and slick. Like I said, it was steep, so I kind of felt like I was gonna go falling over the edge at any point in time. And then I was worried about like getting struck by lightning on this metal staircase. So yeah, I guess technically I did work out, just like not my normal like strength building stuff. But I don't know, I also haven't been tracking any of my food, so it's just been kind of the Wild West. My whole routine has just been disrupted. And it's times like these when I'm like, how do people with kids do it? Like, that's just so much more responsibility, and like, I'm an adult with a very lax job where like I make up the schedule and stuff and I still can't get it together. You know what I mean? Like, how do people with children do it? I could not even imagine. While we're on the topic of children, I have been for the past month and a half now heavily considering getting back on a hormonal birth control. For the past 2 years, I have not been on any kind of medication at all. And that's primarily just to kind of like let my body try to regulate on its own and see like what symptoms I was having without like this external influence of a pill. You know what I mean? And see if I couldn't like help some of my issues naturally, which if you didn't know, like I have an issue with panic. It used to be pretty severe, but I started a ketogenic diet for my mental health and that has helped tremendously. Like, I can't stress how much this diet has changed my life, but I still do have trouble with panic, and that's primarily due to hormones and where I am in my cycle and stuff like that. I do have PMDD, so it's just like a little bit harder to manage. And so there's one side of me that's like, keto plus the birth control could be like this holy grail and potentially get rid of any of the panic. A birth control, which like keeps my hormones consistent at a consistent level for the entire month. You know, like if I skip the placebo pill, which I guess you can do. I talked to a doctor about it and she's like, you could just skip your period entirely because the period you have on the birth control isn't like a real period anyway, which blew my mind. There's pros and cons of being on birth control, you know, side effects and those kinds of things. But also there's pros and cons to like just letting yourself stress out and panic the way that I do sometimes. So like, there's no thing that's like all good or all bad. It's like you have to take trade-offs for your specific life. Anyway, so that's one side of the coin. And I'm also thinking, because I am in the process of losing weight and have been consistently for about 4.5 months now, that's a very stressful process on the body too, you know, because your body likes to be in homeostasis. And on the other side, I'm like, do I just do this au naturel? Like, just give the keto more time to supposedly regulate my hormones, which is supposedly supposed to happen. I have been having an increasingly harder and harder time like staying in ketosis. I notice I get kicked out for no reason. Like meals that used to keep me in it before aren't anymore. Like it's been life-changing, and I've been adhering to this diet religiously, but I can't necessarily count on being in it all of the time, which takes a toll on my mental health, because it's like I can definitely feel when I'm out of ketosis even without a blood test, because the stuff it's doing for my mental health is significant. But there's this saying in therapy that's like, you gotta feel it to heal it. So do I just like keep going through like the panic motions until they become less and less? Like, would that be like the most beneficial route, or are my hormones playing a bigger deal in this than I can actually control on my own? I don't know. So I'm kind of torn. I'm like, do I just want to try to do things the natural way, hope that that works with like lifestyle interventions and stuff? Or do I want to employ the help of a medication to keep my hormones stable? And that is the dilemma. I don't know. So if you have anything to add as far as like other things I should consider, whether it's a pro, whether it's a con kind of thing, opinions, I'm open to reading that, because I have just been sitting on this fence and I keep going back and forth and I don't know what to do. Other than thanking you so much for making it this far and listening to me ramble, I just hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!